Now, I'd like to segue into the next segment just by simply saying that you hear people talk about isolation.
Oh.
Hear people talk about isolation for people, for animals, for anything in general. And when you hear the word isolation, some people may think of the worst possible scenario possible, just separating yourself from the rest of the world. Here's a news flash for you, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes that's the best thing you can do. I'll give you a personal story. When I turned 15 years old, well, not when I turned 15 years old, when I was in the process of turning 16 years old, but close to 15 years old, Randolph knows a little about this story. My 10th grade English teacher, Miss Tamara Barratt, wherever you are, peace, love, and blessings to you always. She introduced me to the wonderful world of journalism just by simply asking one question. Xavier, would you like to be in the newspaper? And at first I said no, because I didn't understand what her meaning of that was. I didn't know if she meant did I want to be a part of the organization club or did I want my picture in the newspaper. But when she rephrased the question and said, oh, so you wouldn't like to be a part of the newspaper? I said, oh, yes, I am very interested in that. And along the way, she was very hard on me. She was very hard on me, harder than me than any student that was in that class with me for the 2 years I was in that class.
And that's always the person that you need.
That's definitely always the person you need. And I would go home and I would complain to my parents, like, this lady doesn't like me. This lady always gets on to me more than she gets on to anybody else. And I'm very thankful to this very day for people like her and my parents and anybody else who was hard on me growing up along the way. Because what it did is it introduced me to the career path that I'm on today. If it's not for Tamara Barratt, Xavier McKnight isn't sitting before you before this microphone today because I didn't know anything about the world of journalism when I was 15 years old. What I did know is that I like to talk about sports. That's what I did know. And as I was getting introduced to journalism, I was receiving many opportunities as a young 16-year-old in Covington, Georgia. One opportunity in particular, an internship with the Covington News newspaper in Covington, Georgia. Randolph's very familiar with this. He's been in that newspaper a few times. He's been interviewed by people in that paper a few times. I started having to go into isolation from friends and family when I was 16 years old for just certain things. Not similar to necessarily what Lonzo Ball may be going through, but I had to go into isolation from them. I was beginning my life in a career path to better myself and looking for a brighter future than a lot of people on the side of my family who weren't necessarily on the right path. And I'm not ashamed to tell you this story. And if they're listening at this and if they're going to be listening at this, I hope you don't take offense to what I'm saying. And to anybody out there who may be laughing at this, like Bernie Mac said, you have problems in your family too.
Yeah, everybody does.
Everybody does. But I had relatives that were trying to take me down. I had one of my relatives in particular try to put false accusations against me for something that could have got me in a lot of legal trouble when I was 16 years old. And I had actually just turned 17 at that point. I was in the process of turning 17. And I went into a full-blown 6-7 month isolation against my family. There were times my parents didn't even know I was in the house. I would talk to them, but I went in a full-blown isolation. And these are relatives who live next door to me. I just want this to be pointed out to everybody. These people live next door to me. And this wasn't me being rude or being a jerk in any sort of way. But I would get off the school bus, walk right by them and their house while they were outside, and wouldn't say a word to them. My father had to make me go say something to them one day because he played a guilt trip on me, which was people don't live forever. You can't hold grudges forever. And I understand why he did that. My mother will still try to play that game on me too, but it doesn't necessarily work that way anymore because I don't go in isolation from people out of a vindictive type of reason. Randolph knows there are times I will isolate myself from my own friends just because I have something else different going on. But I said all of this simply to say maybe it's time for Lonzo Ball to go into isolation. If you haven't heard, Lonzo Ball's younger brother, the middle brother of the Ball brothers, LiAngelo Ball, and 2 other UCLA players were arrested yesterday for shoplifting in China. Reality show, LaMelo Ball being pulled out of high school, being given his own shoe, LeVar just won't shut up, and now this. These are becoming way too many distractions that are not related to what this man is doing on the basketball floor. And the way he's performing, you can't tell me that it's not having an impact on his performance. Think about this. Think about this. The Lakers are playing the Celtics tonight in Boston. This is the most storied rivalry in the history of the NBA, one of the most storied rivalries in the history of sports. And all of the questions before the game, well, at least most of them anyway, to Lonzo Ball, who Magic Johnson already has coined as the new face of the Lakers, are not going to be questions like, what is it going to be like going against Kyrie Irving for the first time? Or the continuation of the Lakers-Celtics rivalry. It's going to be, so what about the situation with LiAngelo? Can you give us more on that? Why did LeVar cancel his press conference in China yesterday? These things are not related to this man's basketball career. And it may be time for him to go into isolation from his family, not completely exempt himself or cut them off, but you have to put a leash on people at a certain point.
All right, before I get to Lonzo, it was sunglasses. He got caught shoplifting sunglasses. Like, what are you thinking? Quite honestly, like, what are you thinking? I mean, you go into another country. I mean, you probably don't know the rules of the country, and you're trying to steal from it. Like, that's one story for itself. But with Lonzo, I mean, I think that's what he might have to do, because it's evident that they already put the weight of the world on his shoulders with all the hype coming into the draft. He gets drafted. He does pretty good in summer league, but it's not the real deal. The regular season starts, and it's been clear that he hasn't played anywhere close to his expectations. So I agree with you that it's probably weighing on him a lot. That all of these distractions around him, all in his family, he's not 100% focused on what he needs to be doing, and he hasn't looked like anything he was hyped up to be so far.
No, he hasn't. Lonzo Ball is not even the best rookie on his team right now.
Oh, no, he's not. Kyle Kuzma
is the best rookie on that team right now. And I can name you many other players who have De'Aaron Fox, John Collins in Atlanta, Dennis Smith Jr., Frank with the Knicks. I'm saying Frank with the Knicks because I can't pronounce his last name. I apologize for that. So many. Ben Simmons, who is going to be Rookie of the Year, even though this is his second year. He didn't play last year, so technically he's a rookie.
Big time this year so far.
And if Markelle Fultz was healthy and seeing the floor, I'm pretty sure he would be having a bigger impact than Lonzo Ball right now, too. Jason Tatum is having a bigger impact. Josh Jackson is having a slightly bigger impact. He's just playing in a mess of an organization in Phoenix.
Even marketing. Chicago. I mean, there's plenty of guys you can name right now that have just had a better impact than Lonzo Ball. And I have to agree with you, honestly, because I think he just needs to maybe not completely get away, but he's got to separate himself a little bit.
He's got to become his own man.
Yeah, branch off on your own a little bit.
He's got to become his own man. Think about this. His father talked shoe companies like Nike, Reebok, Adidas, Under Armour out of signing him because he wanted billions of dollars for Big Baller Brand.
Yeah,
that is not even an established company.
Billions.
I mean, he wanted billions for this. And I'm not saying Big Baller Brand is going to be a failure, but what I will say right now is what I said in 2 group chats yesterday. Big Baller Brand is falling down. It is falling down. They are a mess right now. Listen, people glorified LeVar Ball for how he raised his sons and whatnot earlier in the year. And I get that, especially in the black community, that is huge. Especially when there are fathers who are not there in their children's lives at all, and they have the wherewithal and the capability to be. So I applaud the fact that LeVar Ball has been active in his children's lives, but he is not Father of the Year like some of you thought. And this was most evident to me when the Ball family went on WWE Monday Night Raw earlier in the year, and LaMelo Ball screamed out on national TV, not once, but twice, beat that N-words, you know what, on national TV. ending a relationship with that company as well. I don't know about you, but I mean, if I did that when I got home, the repercussions for that.
It don't make no sense what would have happened to me.
So it just might be time for Lonzo to go into isolation and just solely focus in on basketball. Because I don't believe for 1 second that Lonzo Ball is a bust. I don't believe that.
No.
Lonzo Ball showed you his capability in the second game of the season against the Phoenix Suns when he just absolutely went off. He showed you what he could do.
He's got too much talent. He's not going to be a bust. I just think, as you said, he's got to get away a little bit and focus in on what he has to do to acclimate himself to the NBA and get better.
I mean, I know this sounds kind of weak to say this. Maybe Lonzo needs to go to Magic Johnson and tell Magic Johnson, I need you to have a word with my father.
I don't think he has to go to Magic. I think he just talked to his dad face-to-face, one-on-one.
Is that going to work?
He probably hasn't done it. I don't think he's done it. If it's really been distracting him, I still don't think he's done it.
He probably
and that's probably what he has to do.
He probably hasn't. The only one of the Ball brothers that strikes me as somebody who might actually do something like that is LaMelo. He's the only one that strikes me like that because he's built the same way that LeVar is.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, from an article I read, LiAngelo can if he's convicted, can face 3 to 10 years in prison. And we talking about some sunglasses, man.
Well, let's go ahead and point this out too, because I'm not sure people heard me when I said this. This was not shoplifting in the United States of America.
That's the problem.
This was in China, and the news came out an hour ago that the 3 UCLA players, including LiAngelo Ball, could be held in China for the next month for the legal system to decide what they would like to do.
Even longer. I mean, you just got to know the rules. You can't walk into another country and then try to steal from them.
Listen, I understand people are going to be young and dumb and do stupid things, but there's no excuse for this. You're driving in Lambos and Ferraris. Why are you doing this?
You're an American. You're a target. You're in another country. Come on now. You shouldn't be stealing, period. But I mean, like, sunglasses in another country? Like, at what point did you think that was a good idea if you got caught? Even if you didn't get caught.
Well, here's what I will say to close out this segment. All we ever heard is that there is no attention on LiAngelo Ball. There's attention on him now, and it's not the type of attention you need.